Okay, so of my original sources that I made my sketch from, the ones that are working out are here, and this is the last piece on the top here. These black rocks and this ice that I want to start blending in. And this might be a good place for... Actually, I don't know if it is a good place for the magic wand. I think I'm just going to do a direct selection. Because everything here is nice and sharp, I want it to stay that way. And if I need to, it's better for me to even cut into the ice a little bit. Than to accidentally erase something I would miss later. Because I can kind of shape the ice as I want it. So I'll cut into it a little bit because that shape's a little weird. And I have to make sure I'm on the right layer. There we go. I think I'm going to do a second pass cut here that's a little bit deeper. Cuts the top off of this a little bit so it doesn't look so awkward. And you can always add and subtract from your selection, so you don't have to get it all right in one pass. All right, now I've got this weird thing of, I like the kind of snow effects there. I have the water back here. I have an edge of a lake here. But I've got these trees at like the wrong perspective. I have to decide how much of it is useful. Sometimes it's just best to start with kind of a soft erasing to help reveal what's there, what's useful. I think this ice is useful. So I'm going to select around that. Keep it safe. So I'm going to select around what I will softly erase by hand. Kind of see what there is to see. Yeah, that's working a little bit better. This sunken tree is a real issue. And that's where a new reference is going to come in. Before I work with that, I'm going to play with these colors a little bit. Don't forget to play with levels and color balance and hue saturation. It's going to really help everything come together. And then let's see if saturation's at all necessary. Saturation tends to go up nearer the foreground. Things desaturate as they go into the background. That's something that might help me with these mountains, which look very yellow. Just revisiting their hue saturation. Even maybe isolating the yellows. Didn't do much. Let's try it again. Oh. See all those yellows, and I want to desaturate those a little bit. Maybe even darken them. And then limit the levels of it. There we go. So now those are starting to match a lot better. And I've got this big chunk of ice, which is really cool looking. Let's see what I can do with it. So why it's easier to composite with organic materials is because all of these decisions I'm making with my line here can be fairly arbitrary. But if it was a skyscraper or a vehicle, something man-made, that would be more difficult. And here's what I like best about digital compositing. Since I like this element, I can actually take it, because mostly it's covered up. I can take it from my source. I can duplicate it, Command J, make a new layer asset of it, and then move it over to cover up my floating tree problem. And make it kind of an ice flow in the background. I can set it back behind the layers, and then I can erase away from it just gently and figure that out. In fact, I might even be able to move it back more. There we go. And then I just have to erase from this layer and resolve this issue, which I would have to anyway. And because it's further in the background, I can soften that edge a little bit with the soft eraser. And then I can erase it from my foreground, or at least use it differently. So we don't need to be very respectful of our source material. We have to use it for our own artistic vision. In fact, I think I'm just going to get rid of it. And now the color of my foreground ice block, my dirty ice. I'm going to go right to color balance for this. Take out some of that yellow. Notice that color balance doesn't lighten or darken anything, it just changes the temperature. And you want to play with it in the midtones, the highlights, and the shadows. They all can make a difference, helping everything kind of match the same reality. All right, so I've got kind of a scene started here. My other elements, my weird seed texture. I'm going to start with levels. See if I can get that to kind of fit the personality of these stones. See if I can get that to work. It's a challenge because it's shot at a different scale, but color balance is going to be a big step. Looks like those shells were shot in a interior warm light, not exterior cool light. A lot more cyan to them. And then hue saturation. Take the saturation down a bit, maybe take the lightness down a bit. Let's play with the whole hue and see what that does. All right, so will this be useful? Let's see. It's a way of kind of blending in the ground and the ice. Now you see it's out of focus there. So sometimes we have to be pretty unforgiving of our reference material. It might only help in this area. Okay, and I just made a bit of a boo-boo, which is good because I'll show you how we can fix it with our workflow. So in doing this, I accidentally punched a hole in another layer. And I could go back in my history and fix it, but then I would lose all the work I've done since then. So instead, I'm going to go back to my smart layer and just fix the little puncture I made. That's why we keep those smart layers around. So let me show you what that looks like. Turn this off, you can see it, my little hole punch there. So I go back to my smart layer, which is of the ice. What element was that? Oh, it's number 2. So go back to my number 2 smart layer. And I'm just going to grab that section of it. There's a little patch, duplicate that. Bring that up on top of everything.